Hey everybody, Joe G with a quick NESmaker update. This is not going to be a full update. I just want to show you guys a few of the things that we have been working on. We sort of put them in motion before while we were dealing with the licensing thing, and now because of that we have to sort of finish tethering them before we can push out the beta. I've been talking about this a lot on the forum or on the Facebook and on the Kickstarter page, so I wanted to show you a couple of things that we've been up to. It's late here. I'm going to have to be kind of quiet because the baby's sleeping in the next room. I need to go to bed. The dog will probably bark at me, so bear with me for 1 second. This is going to be just a short, quick video, and I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, to note, super interesting are some of the adjustments we've made to just the interface here. It's a little bit more logical. Like, I want to manage the animations. I can build more animations here. It was a lot more convoluted than that before. Another, in object details, this is kind of cool. Instead of just arbitrary numbers for speeds and things like that, it's really easy to tell. Slow, fast, acceleration speed, fast, slow, jump speed, instead of just these arbitrary numbers which you don't know what they correlate to or whatever. And the same thing with actions, your animation speed, fast, slow, at a time, and being able to set timers. Now, the other thing that's really neat is how we're starting to make things customizable. For instance, for Mystic Searches, these are bits. There's a action step bit for each action, and in Mystic Searches it might be something like you had a monster, and maybe in his first action he was invincible, so this would say invincible, and in the second step he's not invincible, like maybe that's when he's opened his eye and you can hurt him, and in the third step he's invincible again, and that's when he shoots at you or whatever. And then the code could read that bit and say, oh, okay, I'm attacking, but that bit is checked, so I can't hurt him. It doesn't hurt him. Oh, it's not checked, so I can hurt him, or whatever. So these used to just be hard coded. They used to just say things like what these say. Now, instead of that, what we've made is we've added them to the labels that you can actually alter. So if you had a game and your game was, I don't know, more like a Dr. Mario, and your pill spins. I don't even know what that means. But now if I look at the details, you can see if I were to click that, I could then tell it what that bit 2 does. But for your reference, it's really easy to see here, what that means, instead of just being some arbitrary thing, or the old Mystic Searches labels. So that's really neat. And there's a bunch of updates that we've made that are like that all over the place. Another thing, game object, the difference between game objects and monster type objects are that game objects, the graphics for these are always loaded because you always want to be able to call them, whereas the monster objects switch in and out between screens and things like that. And this is good for most purposes most purposes that most people would need for the NES. So like your player, you always kind of want him loaded. Even if you have multiple players, you always want a player loaded. You always want your power-ups available to you, so whatever monsters on the screen, you might want a different power-up. These are the ones that we had for Mystic Searches, but you might want these to be completely different. So instead of like you having to say, oh, and melee is actually going to be my power-up mushroom, I can actually get in and I can rename this now, and I could say, oops, mushroom. You get the idea. Sorry, I'm tired. I'm very tired. So if I save it now, you can actually see it. It updates it over here in the name. So that's really neat. And the biggest updates. Oh, one more thing here with the music. You can see. Instead of just the play and the stop, now we actually have play and pause. We could also solo these tracks. I can't remember if I showed you guys before. I could solo the different tracks, or just play certain ones of the tracks to hear what it sounds like with just the square wave or just the pulse wave or just the noise channel or whatever. I could also start it anywhere. This is the actual runtime of the song, one time through the song, and this is just a progress meter, so I can move it anywhere I want and start from there. And I can also write it as a WAV file. So if I wanted to, if I really like my music and I just wanted to create a suite of music, I could bust it out as a WAV file. Awesome. The last thing that I'm super excited about, and I've been talking about this, and now I can actually show it to you. I grabbed some graphics from Kyle. I said, hey, Kyle, do you have any multi-frame walk cycle animations? He's got some really killer stuff as far as sprites on the Facebook page. So I wanted to see if he had anything, and he said yeah, from one of his other games he had something, and he shot it to me real quick, and I updated my player tiles to reflect this running funny looking dog character, and I want to show that we were able to do something that we said we were never going to be able to do, and that's expand beyond 4 frames of animation. In fact, now you can have any frame count from 1 to 8, and technically you could go more than 8, but there's a lot of reasons why we want to constrain it to 8. But 8 frames of animation for a NES sprite, considering how little graphic space you have, is a lot, and that's super cool. So what I did was I pulled in his graphics and I made an 8-frame animation, and it's basically, you know, a standard walk cycle with the legs just moving, and I can test this. I made this silly little screen. Now he doesn't move or anything like that. I just wanted to show the animation, and I'll show how I can easily speed it up too. So I'll just go to test, export, and test. Lastly, I think I showed this. I actually have set up to use the FCEUX emulator now. So now it's not even going to use our custom emulator. You can download your emulator of choice and just tell where it's located and what file you want it to run. And when you hit export and test, it'll run it through that emulator instead of our custom emulator. And there's a lot of cool reasons why you might want to use your own custom emulator. But I'm going to hit a button and we're going to see a running guy appear. By the way, the music that you're hearing right now is from another Facebook group user, Zach. I wanted to demonstrate his music being able to be played through our tool. So this is his music in the emulator. Now I want to speed up this animation. Super easy to do that. I'll go to my player. I go to object details. And right now I've got the slowest animation speed. I'm going to put it on what's pretty much the fastest animation speed, and 0 would be no animation. So now it'll animate pretty fast. Export and test. I've also got, I'll show you this real quick before I do that. I just made a tester. This is one of those macro functions, create an object, and I'm creating it at the X value. Oops, sorry. The X value I want to create it at, the Y value I want to create it at, and which object that I want to create. And this will actually have a name associated with it. For right now, 00 is player, so that's fine. So what I made happen is when I press the B button, it creates this object. That's, if I go to my input editor, you can see when I that was called draw tester. When I press the B button on the start screen, it creates that object, and that's why it doesn't show up right away, but I could make it show up right away too. So I'm gonna export and test, and now he's gonna animate a lot faster. There we go. And you can see how easy it was for me to change that. You can see how easy and how versatile it's going to be to have more frames of animation. So this was just a super quick video I wanted to show you guys. Again, this is not a feature video like some of those main videos. These are just some of the updates that we've been working on, and because of this, because of adding these extra frames of animation, this totally changed some fundamental things in our drawing function. The good news is they're more efficient now. They actually run faster, so more things are going to be able to happen on the screen at a time without that classic NES slowdown problem that you have. But the drawback is now we need to sort of relink some of these things up and make them work again. And I'll be spending the next day or two finishing that. But things are going great, and I can't wait to get this in your hands and let you start to play around with it. Sorry to cut this short. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed, and I'm going to post this, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Let me know your thoughts. Is this making you even more excited? You know, is there anything else that you guys are really clamoring to see? Now is the time. Yeah, so talk to you soon. Bye.